Real Estate
Real
on
Estate on
Sunday.
Sunday.
And I am Jim Lowenstern.
I'm Diana Doherty. Welcome
And
back.
We were previously known as the Did my voice just crack?
Real Estate Ninjas.
I think we're still the Ninjas. We'll always be affectionately known as the Real Estate
Yes.
Ninjas. And we invite your calls.
To-
We have a number for you to call if you're listening.
1-800-967-3561.
Yep, we invite calls about real estate. Anything that's on your mind concerning real estate. Can we invite them to call about anything?
We could.
Yeah. You have problems in your marriage, we can solve that.
We pretty much solve everything, right?
Pet issues, you name it. So
Multi-talented.
what's that?
We're multi-talented
Yes,
solvers.
we're extremely
We have to wear
talented.
several hats.
So today and actually this is the first thing before we go into unfinished business from last week. We want to decide once and for all, what are we? Is this a podcast, a vidcast, a vlogcast, a vodcast? I guess it's possible to be a blogcast too, with a B, because we are streaming and they can be downloaded, just the audio, and it can be watched on YouTube. How many different things can we be? But what should we call ourselves?
Maybe a vodcast.
Vod?
Or Vlad. I like the Vlad because
You
it
like
kind of adds
Vlad?
all of
Almost
them.
sounds like Vlad.
Vlad.
Like a Russian guy's
Russian?
name. Well, we can,
Think about it.
yeah, we can.
You can call about
take
that your opinions, too.
Because we're trying to invent something that's probably not been done before, like this show, which is an opportunity for real estate professionals to talk to each other, talk to us, and we'll get to other aspects of what we're doing later in the show.
Yes.
But first,
So did you want to talk about finish up what we were talking about last week
we
for
didn't
the
finish
tips?
it. Yeah, let's finish up what
Okay.
we.
The tips for buyers. So we had started off getting a great team with a real estate agent, mortgage broker, inspector, attorney, having a good team.
Hmm.
And then another one is to get pre-approved early and get yourself prepared to write offers, or maybe you
The
can
good mortgage broker will
get a
do
good
all that.
mortgage broker, and possibly if you have credit that needs to be cleaned up, they can help you
Prepare early.
get prepared
'Cause you might actually have to wait a few months to
Yes.
jump in.
to be ready. And then if you're ready, then you have
Get
your,
your FICO
you know
scores
exactly.
up. We have Evan on the boards here. We'll introduce Evan later.
Okay. And then be flexible. Be flexible when you're looking at properties. There is no perfect property.
Okay.
If you're a first-time buyer.
Be realistic.
Be realistic. That's good. Be realistic.
Yeah, it's not flexible.
That's, yeah,
Flexible might come in the negotiations.
sure.
Yeah, you can't be so rigid that you let the deal go away.
Over small things.
How many times have we heard, well, it's the principle?
A lot. It's not about the money. It's the principle.
Yeah, it's not.
Or I'm offended.
It's not about them. Oh, yeah, I'm offended. I'm insulted.
That's
Yeah,
another one we hear a lot.
yeah.
And then I did say this last week, but I'll repeat it again, understanding that an inspection isn't necessarily pass or fail. So we kind of just touched on that about being,
Right. The first house I
Realistic.
ever built, going back before I built house, the first house I ever bought, I didn't have an inspection.
you didn't even do an inspection.
Didn't do an inspection.
Was it just not,
I
Some
didn't want to
people
have
do,
an
or you just didn't wanna
inspection
get-
because, first of all, I didn't have the money to have an inspection
Okay.
back then, even though it was probably about $20. I literally said to the broker, I don't want an inspection because I want to buy the house.
so it didn't matter
It was
what was
either
wrong with it?
the money was going to go to the down payment, or if I paid for the inspection, I would be scared off from buying it. It
Oh,
needed
and
that.
you knew that you didn't,
It needed stuff.
so you could tell that you were understanding that it needed work and that you were willing to accept those.
Nothing is perfect.
Nothing is perfect, yeah, it's
Yep,
true.
Yep.
And then know your price. This is another one. Know what your price is, what you can afford, whether you can pay for the property or walk away from it. Know your price. First make sure you can afford it, and then when you're putting your final offer in, if there's a final offer, make sure that you're willing to pay for it at that price or walk away from it.
Right.
Like, don't come back 2 days later and say, oh, I would have came up $10,000.
Yeah. I haven't said this in a long time to buyers, but I used to say, when I would get to that point in the negotiations, I would say, think about this. Is this house so important to you that you don't want to lose it? I mean, with appreciation and inflation and the devaluation of the dollar, whatever mechanisms will make you think back 5, 10 years later, gee, that really would have been the right neighborhood, the right house, and oh boy, even back then, can you imagine we could have bought it for that price? I always say, think about how you're going to feel if you lost that house.
Correct.
Then make your offer.
And be comfortable and know that's it.
So
No second guessing.
we're going to have to come back if there's
Oh,
anything else.
Okay,
'cause we
well, the last
actually
one is
have
location, location, location.
Oh, okay. Well, everyone knows the three most important things in real estate.
That's it.
And we have a caller. Let's see, how do we get the caller? John Marshall, I believe. Is this John?
This is John. How are you doing today?
Okay.
Hi, John. Welcome to Real Estate on Sunday.
We're the real estate ninjas. We
wanna keep that in there.
What's that?
You like to keep that in.
I think we like to be ninjas. I don't know. I still fall back on that. So it's Diana and Jim. John, we appreciate you calling in today. Now, you are a real estate professional in Colorado, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And your expertise is golf course homes?
It is, yes it is.
How did you fall into that niche?
Well, several years ago I realized that the top agents all had some kind of a specialty. And I wasn't quite the luxury agent. I didn't want to work with first-time home buyers. Not that I don't want to work with them, but that wasn't what I wanted to focus on. I had a passion for golf for 35, 40 years. Owned a couple of businesses. I was a golf sales rep and also a custom club fitter. So golf was just kind of a natural fit. And then when I saw the correlation between golf and real estate, I thought, why not? I called one of the high-end luxury magazines here in Colorado that specializes in golf course properties, called Colorado Golf Magazine. Asked them if they wanted somebody to write articles about them. So I just kind of dove in, started writing about Colorado golf courses around the state and real estate that surrounds them, and it just got me real pumped up about real estate again. I was actually in my 7th or 8th year, and I think a lot of agents kind of hit that burnout point at that point. That's where I was.
Are there enough golf course communities in Colorado to keep you busy?
Boy, there's more than enough. There's actually, I think, 217 courses in Colorado. Not that I'm going to handle all of them, but within Denver itself, all you really need is 5 good courses. There's probably 200 to 300 homes lining every golf course. If you want to expand it to homes that are not necessarily on the golf course within the community, you're going to triple, quadruple that number. So you could literally focus on one golf course and kind of be the dominant agent there. I prefer to do homes that exclusively back to golf courses and spread it out over several courses in the metro area. It's a lot easier to target my marketing that way.
Diana, you have a listing
I do
on
have a
golf
listing
course.
on a golf course in Lakeville, Massachusetts.
Very nice.
And my father actually owned the golf course. That he sold it at this point.
Together.
Yeah. So
Give her some tips on how to market it,
Yeah.
because she's had to lower the price once or twice, and still unsold.
I've had people actually not like it because it's on the golf course, and it's a public golf course, so there's no, I can't offer memberships or anything like that. What do you think?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, the public courses are definitely a different animal than the private, and most of the courses I deal with are kind of the upper public and the lower private, if you will. The price range is a $500,000 to 1.5 that I kind of target. And ironically, 40% of the buyers of golf course homes don't play golf, so they're looking for a home with a view more than anything. They want something that has some privacy in the backyard, and opens to a really nice space that's typically manicured by somebody else. I mean, either back into, you're a master land, which is not a golf course property.
John, you're on a very crackly line. Is that cell or landline?
It's a cell phone. I apologize. I was on my way to an appointment.
Oh. We know you're busy. We appreciate you coming on today. I noticed that you blogged recently about how to run your professional life and your real estate career. I found it sort of refreshing to hear you talk about that. Do you see a lot of people in the industry just sort of work themselves to death?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think a lot of people get into it. They realize there's some really good money to be made, but they don't run it like a business. I mean, I think most people hear the gurus and the experts say, a doctor wouldn't answer the call at 9 o'clock on Saturday night, treat your business like a doctor. Well, they might think that, but they don't treat it like a doctor really treats his practice. They're a specialist in what they do. They refer all the rest of the business. They have their hours, and they explain the hours and what they do to their clients, just like realtors should do, but most of them don't do that. And I think that's one of the beauties of being a specialist, is I can take on exclusively golf course properties and refer the rest to other experts I know, whether they work with pilots or whether they work with condos downtown or farms or horse properties or whatever. And when you become the specialist, you're not always trying to find the next client, because they seek you out and you get referrals. I mean, I would say half of my income comes from referring business outside of the state of Colorado to others. So it gives you a nice life-work balance. I mean, the yield per hour on referrals is much greater than actually transacting it myself, so I'd much rather just do that all day long.
So do you refer a lot of buyers and sellers to other brokers in perhaps other states even for golf course properties?
Yeah, there's a fair amount of that, but more so I get other agents around the country that just say, hey, I'm struggling selling this golf course property. Can you help me with this? Or, I just got a referral in Northern Illinois from a local agent here that said, my mom and dad have a $1 million home on a golf course in Northern Illinois, and the agent hasn't sold yet. Can you help them? You can have the referral fee. Well, I had a conversation with a couple agents out there that I knew through my network of golf agents, and this is something, Diana, I think that might help you, is with golf course properties. I like to promote them to golf channels. I mean, I have a LinkedIn group that's for golf course properties. I have the Active Rain blog that talks about golf courses, but also I have a group on there that's exclusive to golf course properties. And the referrals and the network that you build through that, they just refer your business, or they seek you out as a specialist saying, help me with this one, or, you're the guy to go to. I get calls here locally by some of the top eight. I mean, these guys are doing 50, 60 million a year, and they call me up and say, hey, John, I got a golf course listing. I want you to come by and check it out, see if you have any buyers for it. And there are opportunities I never would have had if I was just, one of a million agents trying to list and sell anything I could get my hands on. So it's opened up a whole lot of doors for me.
Very interesting.
So Diana's problem, at least one of them, is some people think that there's a lot of chemicals sprayed on the course.
The mosquito spraying, I've gotten some questions about that. We also failed Title V, and the seller wants the buyer to pay for it, but that I might be able to negotiate.
Yeah, and John probably doesn't know what Title V is, but that's septic. But
codes.
But what do you say to people that have voiced an objection about pesticides?
And it's well water as well.
Well, that's a good one. I haven't come across that one yet. I mean, I definitely deal with golf course properties out here, but it hasn't been an issue. People aren't, I guess, maybe that concerned here in Colorado. Mostly because we just have such a low humidity out here. We don't have a whole lot of need for spraying. I think this is the first year in several years they've actually sprayed for mosquitoes in Colorado, and that was just kind of a citywide thing in certain areas. So I guess my thought is they're still going to have, I mean, it's going to have to be a sales job to let these people know that that's going to happen. There's going to be stuff there, but you're going to water the lawn it's going to run off back to the golf course, because very few golf courses are set above the properties that surround them. Usually the properties kind of surround the golf course and sit up higher, so your water's going to run off into their property instead of vice versa.
Is that true?
It is true.
Okay. All right, well, that's a
good.
good way to handle that objection. What's been going on in Colorado with the legalization of marijuana? Has that affected your business at all? In a positive or negative way, or just business as usual?
I think it's affected real estate in a positive way overall. That, and I don't know what it's like nationally, but our cash buyers here are a lot bigger. I mean, I think it's about 42% of Colorado homes are sold to cash buyers right now. So, so maybe I'll change my, my
Your niche?
to just.
Maybe they're a lot happier too.
Well, I mean, just green properties, and I can cover that market as well. But no, it's definitely a topic of conversation out here. I mean, I think every happy hour you go to, every cocktail party, barbecue you attend, there's that conversation. There's, if it's at somebody's house, somebody's lighting up. I mean, it's not like it's a hidden thing out here anymore.
Oh, really?
Wow.
So,
And I shouldn't say every one of them, but
Sure,
there's
but
somebody
it's
that
not
goes
a-
off by themselves, come back. And,
Not unusual.
no, it's not unusual, and it's kind of the norm, and it's accepted. And but I haven't really seen it affect my own personal business. It's not something that I'm heavily involved in. I know a few people that partake.
right, no, I wasn't implying anything. So getting back to your schedule and how you communicate to your clients, your buyers and your sellers, how you work. You tell them you have set hours and you take certain days off, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, primarily I let them know that I'm available by phone from 8 to 8 every day. Typically Fridays and Saturdays I'm done by 5, unless we're writing an offer, which we're already in the middle of if that happens. But for the most part, we can get it all taken care of in those hours. I let them know that my weekends, I mean, I don't do open houses. I do have agents that will do them for me, and if a seller really requests one, I'll let them know, the open house is really to pick up a buyer, not necessarily to sell your house. So, and they understand that. But I would say, in a typical week, I'll work 40 hours, and it might be spread around, but I will set my hours before the week starts of what is important to me with family and other things that I have, and I just set them as appointments. It's already on the calendar. I don't answer the phone during those hours, and there's nothing that's ever so immediate that you have to pick up the phone and answer every single call. I know there's agents that are taught you have to answer every call, or you're going to miss out on opportunity.
What about
You're gonna miss out on life
texts?
if you-
What about
that way,
texts
so.
and
Texts and
emails? Do you take those into the night and communicate that way, or you just shut it down at 8?
Yeah, I tend to do my blogging and stuff like that later in the evening. That's when I kind of have quiet time. I like to read it in the evening. Most of my, texting I'll go back and forth with throughout the day as I'm going about. If I have time and I see a text, I'll respond to it. I think that each one of the mediums has their own immediacy,
Preference.
if you will. Texting, it seems like, okay, I need a quick answer. I'll just get it if it's something I can answer right away. If it requires a phone call, I'll call it back. But I'll usually text back unless I'm in the middle of a conversation. I just hide my phone.
Yeah, it's tough. I know it's tough to shut it down ever.
Well, I think that there's an expectation from clients that because everyone knows you have a smartphone and a cell phone and pretty much email and text and phone calls available right at your hip pretty much 90% of the day, and they have this expectation that we're not doctors, that we're not regular business people, that we are there to serve them.
Well, it's also that a lot of people who are buying, not so much the sellers, because they have different expectations.
Sure.
But the buyers have 9-to-5 jobs.
And they do
And
this
when
on
are
the
they going to
side.
be able to
Yeah.
look for the properties
Outside of that.
and make the offers and negotiate? It's sort of it's like the opposite of the morning commute.
Right.
We're there supposedly. When they get off work, we're supposed to then make ourselves available.
But I do agree that you don't always have to answer the phone every time it rings.
Well, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, but sometimes it's good not to be available
It's
all the
impossible
time.
to be available 100%
Yeah.
of the time.
Well, and my primary focus is on coaching other agents. I do the transactions to stay on top of what I coach and I train. So mine's a little bit different. I mean, I typically set my Monday through Friday hours with meeting agents and helping coach them through their processes. But when I do work with buyers, it's typically 80% listings and 20% buyers. So I don't do near as many on the buy-in, but I will always try to coordinate lunch showings if that works for my clients Monday through Friday. That way I get them done through the week. And, you know, obviously in hotter markets, and I would say that the golf course market is not as hot as everything under 350 here in Denver, and it's probably similar.
Well, that's a good point. Sorry to interrupt, John. That's a good point. I've read even lately that the golf stocks are down,
Businesses
and
in golf
I
as
think
well.
I think maybe the industry sort of got ahead of itself and building too many golf courses, and you know, you need new golfers to keep it all going. Has that affected the value of those properties?
Yeah, it's definitely slowed down on some of the courses that are on the market right now. There's definitely a handful of courses here in Denver that are up for sale. They might be struggling one way or another, so the values have definitely come down on those courses. However, courses that have been developed for a while that have you know, really strong membership or just player rates every day, they're usually, the values stay strong in those.
Wouldn't it be a great opportunity to buy those struggling golf courses and sort of retread them, so to speak, as subdivisions? You have all that open land.
That's kind of what some of the people are trying to do. I would prefer that never happen because it definitely devalues all the properties that are already on the course. If you all of a sudden fill the golf course with condos, you know, your views and your backyard and your exposure and everything you had is now looking at, you know, a bunch of people in a parking lot instead of a beautiful golf course. So
No, I'm thinking more like, you know, palatial, upscale housing to bring the values up, not to drive them down.
you know, and it very well could. I guess it just depends on the course and the location of that course. You know, there's some here in Denver where they had the Parade of Homes one year, and they tried to put these $1 million homes in this golf course that is a really nice course, but the area around it was supporting $200,000, $250,000 homes. So every single one of those luxury homes went into foreclosure. Not one of them ever sold until they came back and were bought for, you know, a quarter of the price. So I guess it really depends on the golf course itself. If it's in a prime area and for that kind of growth, then yeah. You could probably bring the value up by closing the course and putting in high-end homes. I'm trying to think of one here in particular. I can't think of one off the top of my head that would make sense to do.
Do you have communities around Denver? I mean, I know there's Aspen and Vail, and that's further away. There's all the ski areas. Are there upscale communities in your area?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of them, and a lot of, I would say the country clubs. I mean, one in particular, I'll name Cherry Hills. They're hosting the BMW Championship here in a couple of weeks. Every house on that course is probably $3 million plus.
Okay.
It's not a market that I get into. I typically go into the higher end. There's a few down south of Denver in Castle Rock, the Ridge at Castle Pines, Bear Dance. Those two have a lot of homes on them that probably start at $500,000, go up to $2 to $3 million. That's more my market. They're public play courses, but they're also kind of in the higher dollar. I would say there's maybe 75 golf courses within the Denver metro area, and at least a third of those have $1 million homes on them. So there's a lot of high-end properties that are sitting around just in the city itself, and most of those are around the country clubs. But there are a few high-end public courses that have those types of homes on it that I kind of cater to. So.
Okay, so how's your market out there? In Boston, we've had a pretty strong market through the spring. The summer might have slowed down a little bit, but that's normal. We have a lot of overbids, a lot of, I would say, price wars.
Multiple offers. Like
Yep.
Sometimes 30
Bidding wars.
offers on one property.
Do you have that sort of market now yourself?
Very similar here. It's once again, it's in the entry level to second tier homes, I would say, and in Denver, that's the 350 and less homes. Any of those homes, I would say average days on market is maybe 2 to 3. And then again, it depends on the neighborhood. There's some areas on the north end of Denver where the price point might be 2.25, where it's the same thing. But the area in South Denver where I focus, I would say anything that's put on the market at 350 is going to be gone within a week, and more often than not, multiple offers. But the summer definitely has slowed a little bit. I think we've had historically low inventories here in Denver. I think our numbers are around 7,000 for the last year of homes on the market here, and it actually bumped up to about 9,000 the last month. So I think some sellers are starting to realize it might be time to sell, and that's coupled with the banks are still having a tough time getting loans through, so it's making it a little softer than it was. I think we'll probably see that play out for the next several months here, but I think it'll remain strong in Denver for 2 to 3 years at least. I don't know what beyond that, but
Yeah. And you do coaching of agents? Is that what I heard you say?
yeah, that's what I love. I mean, I love sitting down with an agent and helping them get through a bottleneck or figuring out what they're all about and what their goals are with real estate, and then similar to what I do with golf, I help them figure out their niche, what they're passionate about, and then how to get business that way, because it doesn't have to be just mass marketing. I really believe that a specialist is in demand, whereas a generalist is one of a million out there. So if you become a specialist, you're forced to learn a market, and then you're immediately one better than every other agent out there that doesn't know that market any better than any other market. So you can, for newer agents especially, if you're getting into the business, they're like, what do I do? Well, you can cold call, or you can add something to that is, let's figure out a focused, whether it's a demographic, a geographic area, and let's just learn everything we possibly can about that, and let's start promoting that market as that's what you specialize in, because you can become the specialist much quicker than a generalist, and business comes to them a lot quicker. And it's what I call a handle. If I sit down with an agent, I want to know what their handle is so I can carry away with them at the end of the day. So when I think of somebody down the road, I immediately think of Joe Smith, realtor over here, instead of, geez, I don't know a realtor that does that. So for me, it connects me with the realtors that I can refer business to, but it also helps them get new business they wouldn't otherwise have had and they didn't know how to find.
So new agents are receptive to, like, let's say they have this geographic area, and then they get a call from maybe a family member or someone said, oh, I know so-and-so, refer them to, but it's outside that geographical area. Are new agents receptive to referring those out?
More often than not, no. And I recommend, take the business when you can get it, when you're learning, because you don't really know what you want to specialize in. If you're so busy with what you got going, then by all means refer it. But
Sure.
if you've got time to take it on, then take it on, because you might learn that might be what you really want to focus on as opposed to what you're already focusing on. But I encourage each of them to find a demographic and a geographic niche they can really get to learn and target, and then the business from family and friends is going to come anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
Stop that while you're in your infancy, because you need to survive your first 2 or 3 years, or you're going to be out of it real quick. So
Right.
I encourage them to take that on as well, and and have a mentor with them. I think that's huge. I think a lot of agents get into this business and they don't have a playbook. They don't know. I put together a game plan for each and every agent and say, this is a game plan specific for you. You got your general guidelines, but this is going to work for you based on your finances, based on your goals, your personality. Let's cater a plan that fits you.
Sure.
I actually, a quick story, I studied strength and conditioning in college for professional and college athletes, and the one thing I learned was that every athlete was totally different. If you had Tom Brady and Peyton Manning on the same football team, they would have 2 totally different workouts. But if you get a realtor that goes to big box real estate, they're going to get handed, here's your playbook, go do this. This is what worked for so-and-so. Well, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense that every agent should fall into this category, that's how they do things, when you wouldn't do that when you get to the elite level of any athletic or any music or anything. You think of everybody that's a specialist in their field. They chose a specialty and they became the expert at it. That's how real estate should be, and I think that's the way real estate's going with what's going on with Zillow and Trulia and all the rest. I think the more you specialize, the more you'll be in demand.
So do you own the company, manage it, or just form your own teams and coach agents that you bringing to your team? Who are you coaching, in other words?
I'm actually the state broker. I had my own brokerage for 8 years. I'm the state broker for a new company to Colorado called Fathom Realty. So I'm the state broker. I'm in charge of growing the entire state and opening up different pockets. I coach agents that join us, and I coach agents that are not part of me. I mean, it's just my way of kind of spreading goodwill and doing what I'm passionate about.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, this has been great. We really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you, John.
Well, I appreciate the time. I really do. It's been
Okay.
wonderful for me too. So
All right, great. Well, you have a great rest of your day.
you too. Enjoy.
Okay. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
John, welcome.
Yeah, that was great.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. So we went way over.
Where are we
today.
really? Time's just flying.
I don't know. What else?
Did we go over?
Yeah, we went over. We have so much to talk about. But
We
I guess
do. We
we're
have
gonna-
more stuff to talk
We're gonna
about.
put it on the next show.
Well, we'll.
Yeah, we don't wanna overstay our welcome.
Well, this has been Real Estate on Sunday, and if you'd like to call us at 1-800-967-3561. That's Thursdays at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, and know your dreams and live your dreams.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.